Knowing this one crucial piece of data about your power profile can really help a lot of you Zwifters improve your racing results for your next race. And today, I'm going to be showing you what that exactly is and how you can figure it out so that next race you can compete for that win. Let's dive into the video. Hey Zwifters, welcome back to another Zwift race analysis video, and today I'm going to be providing some analysis and commentary and sharing one crucial thing that you should know about your power profile that can really help you improve your racing results for your next Zwift race. And the example that I'm using for this video is going to be one of my sister's races, which is category C of stage 1 of the Flat is Fast Z Racing series, and this is in one of the most popular races of the week. So it's a great example because there are 300 riders in the event, and you can really improve so much in such a big field because there are so many more mistakes to be made, and the group dynamic is just totally different from the smaller races. And I'm going to be sharing some crucial tips on how you can improve for next time as I talk through this race. So for reference, this event is 12.2 miles long, so my sister is 2.4 miles out from the finish, which is around 6 minutes time, and that is going to mean that this is a very fast race. You can already see that based off of how quickly the riders are riding right now, and they're moving at around 26 to 27 miles per hour at most points in the race. This is one of the slower points of the race because riders are a lot more hesitant to attack now than they were earlier. Earlier there were lots of attacks, and you can actually see a lot more of the race in the linked video below, and that is the Zwift Community live stream, because Zwift Community Live did live stream this event because this is sort of the prime time event that gets streamed each week. And you can see here 10 miles now, 0.2 has been traveled, and just note that the watch heart rate, my sister is getting heart rate from her watch, and it is pretty inaccurate, to be honest, in some sections of the course, so that's why you may see it drop to like 130 or so, which is completely inaccurate. But yeah, disclaimers aside, you can see here that now moving at 26 miles per hour, my sister's sitting at a really good position in the group. She's towards the front, so she's not drifting off the back like I typically do, and this is one of the things that she does really well in Zwift races, that she's typically near the front. While she used to be like off the front of the group, pulling the group, she's now learned that that's not necessarily the most efficient way to ride, but she is in a very efficient spot in the group, probably around 1/3 of the way to the front of the group. So you can see here that she is just nearing the front here, but she does actually touch the front a little bit here, so she probably could have eased off a bit in order to save some extra energy. But overall, no harm was really done in terms of just using extra energy that wasn't really needed. Still in a very good position, and that's sort of what you want in a race that is this close to the finish. You've got less than 2 miles left. You want to be towards the front because really, if someone really wanted to commit right now, they could completely tear up the group, and the group could split in two. And one of the reasons why I think this is because this group is massive. I'm just taking an overhead look here, and you can just see how many riders are in this group. We've got a group of around like 80 or 90 riders, and they're all in contention for the win. It's just anybody's win. Now, you can probably count half of them out because half of them are probably just holding on for dear life, but there's a solid 50 or so riders that are going to be fighting for that win and are still feeling pretty fresh. Also, if you are enjoying this video, please consider smashing that subscribe button. It really does help support the channel. And with that, let's continue on with the video. Alright, so now you're going to see them go through this finishing banner, and one of the things that was very interesting about this race is that there were essentially no power-ups, or not any power-ups that would add any strategy to the game at all. They were only the big plus boosts, which are 250 XP each, so those were given out at the banners. There were no arrow boosts or featherweight boosts or draft boosts like you would typically expect in these events, which I found pretty odd, but it doesn't really matter because it just makes for a bit more of a tactical finish. You can see here that my sister does move up towards the front of the group here because there is a pretty big surge at the front, and that was honestly a pretty big threat to just losing positioning. Not really losing a spot in that lead group, but losing a position that is optimal for this finishing sprint. And you can see here in the mini-map that riders are actually getting pretty strung out, so that was a pretty significant attack, and that was the final blow for a lot of the riders out there. And a lot of them just started dangling off the back and just made this group a lot more strung out and exciting for the finish. Now, when I took a look at the rankings on Zwift Power, there were about 20 or 30 riders who were ranked better than her in terms of Zwift Power ranking score. So there were certainly some really strong riders in this race, and I knew that she had the potential to get top 10 finish in this race, no matter how much she told herself that it was going to be really hard, especially in this big of a group. No doubt about it, the group was extremely fast, and those riders, just because of the group size, there were just so many riders, and that just made the group so much quicker. You can see here that there is a bit more separation happening in the front, so my sister does move up a bit, and overall just holding a very good positioning towards the front of the group here. You can see 160 to 170 watts here. That's around 3 to 3.5 watts per kilo for her, and she's just moving up very nicely in the group, still holding a solid positioning, and we're about to gear up for that finishing sprint. And this is where you really need to know what you are doing in this finishing sprint. Now you can see here some riders are trying to move up, and you're just see this bath salts rider just ride right through the group. And I told my sister here that she should start ramping up her power, because I knew that she was more of a long and steady kind of rider, not necessarily one to provide a really big burst of power in these finishing sprints. So I told her to start going here, but really one of the crucial mistakes that I made when coaching her and trying to help her get a better result was that I didn't really realize that she had this long of a sustained power, because I'm used to my power profile where I can sort of provide a burst for around 10 seconds, but as soon as I start sprinting, my power just keeps on declining all the way throughout the sprint. I'm not really one to just keep holding a steady power, whereas my sister, she can hold that steady power of around 9 to 10 watts per kilo for probably 30 and above seconds. So really, she could have gone maybe 2 or 3 seconds earlier, and that would have led her to be sort of with those top 10 riders in that little bunch, and she would have had the draft from those riders, allowing her to really just draft off of them and just hold on to their wheels rather than surfing the wheels of around 15 to 20th place. So ultimately, 15th and 20th place, we're going around the same speed as first place through 10th place. So really just hopping on that group earlier could have gotten her a much better result, because you can see here as she reaches that final banner, she is still holding the same power that she started out with, around 350 and 370 watts. Alright, so if you're wondering how exactly can you know whether you're sort of that long sprinter or sort of that short burst of power sprinter, and I'd say a lot of it is kind of just trial and error, testing with different races and such, and a lot of it you'll just learn with experience. And that's one of the things that I've started to learn as a Zwifter myself. And in a lot of Zwift races, I used to sprint. I've just tried doing different types of sprints. Like, I've tried races where lots of riders tend to sprint early and some riders sprint very late, and that sort of varies from course to course. There's some courses like Tempest Fugit, those are going to be the longer sprints, and the shorter ones are going to be sort of ones in like New York or in like Park Perimeter Loop, where it has that sort of short burst of climb. Climbs like those are just 2 examples. I can't think of all of them off the top of my head, because it tends to vary based off the different type of group that you're with. But honestly, trial and error is going to be the best way to do it. But if you want a really more scientific way, you can use things such as like a trainer road power test, and that kind of tests all different aspects of your power. Same with the Wahoo ones, that is the 4DP test, and that kind of just tests like whether you're a sprinter, whether you're a puncher, and that type of things. That gives you just an overall look of where you land compared to other riders. Another thing that you can do is sort of just compare your watts per kilogram or your watts for each different type of sprint. So you could do something like go for the Fugo Flats sprint, and then do a shorter sprint like the Watopia sprint that's around 10 seconds long, and just compare your watts per kilo for each of those things. If you see a significant drop in your 30-second power to your 10-second power, then you know that you're more of a puncher and you can just hit those higher numbers rather than sustaining a sprint. You can also just go by feel. Typically for me, I found that when I just start sprinting, I immediately feel the fatigue building up in my legs after like 10 or so seconds, and I just can't continue pushing on. You'll just notice your power dropping off pretty quickly if you're sort of a puncher rather than a long and steady person. Rather than if you're a long and steady person, you probably won't be able to hit those super high numbers compared to the other riders, and you'll be able to just hold that sort of steady power at still a sprint worthy power, but then not necessarily it's like a massive burst of power, like you're doing like 1,000 or 1,500 watts. You may be doing like 800, but you can hold that for 30 seconds, whereas the puncher person can only hold it for around 10 to 15 seconds. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It really does help support the channel. And with that, thank you all for watching. Let me know what your thoughts are on this topic. And with that, see you all next time, and ride on.